with Donald Trump around, the conversations continue. He's, remember, spoken today to the Ukrainian President Zelensky. Zelensky addressed the gathering here and said that he hopes that peace will come to Ukraine sooner rather than later. And of course, the border peace for Gaza has also been initiated by President Trump. Plus, of course, there is AI, the other big disruptor. I'm joined now by a very special guest live. Nicholas Thompson is currently the CEO of The Atlantic, a magazine in the United States that's looked at and taken very seriously by both sides of America's political divide. Good to have you, Nicholas, on the show. Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure to be here on India Today. Thanks for having me.
You know, I want to understand, can you make sense for us of all that's happened over the last 24 hours? I was a short while ago listening to Zelensky, who sounded someone desperate to get this war to end, thousands of people dying. Donald Trump is getting Vladimir Putin to sign on the border peace on Gaza, but at the same time, Donald Trump is promising Zelensky is going to end the war in Ukraine. Make sense for us, Nicholas, of what's going on around us.
It's very hard to make sense of it. I mean, Donald Trump acts very impulsively. He has many different ideas. He moves from one thing to another, and the whole world follows him. That's kind of the nature of his presidency, and he tends to, in general, get a lot of what he wants, but he moves forward, he moves backwards, he moves to the side, and everybody just follows him because of his power, because of his charisma, because of the influence he holds.
You know, are you saying, therefore, that that we should sort of press the pause button when we look at or not react instantly to what Donald Trump says or does?
So exactly. So, I mean, this was a good case in Greenland, right? So there was a moment, I went to a dinner on Monday night. I mean, that was a long time ago. It's Thursday. And everybody at dinner on Monday night was like, America's going to have Greenland by the end of the month. And, well, no, actually. Sometimes he says things and then he backs down. Sometimes he says something and somebody pushes against him and he backs down. Sometimes he says something and the bond markets do something and he backs down. So you just don't know.
You see, Nicholas, that makes it a little more difficult, possibly as a media practitioner, and you've been a journalist as well before you became a CEO, of tracking someone like Trump, because there is no certitude. It's exciting, but how do you make sense of it as a media person, particularly in the United States? How does the media cover someone like Donald Trump objectively?
Well, I think the important thing is, first of all, to do what you just said, to cover him objectively, to understand exactly what he's doing, the reality of what he's doing, and talk to people who support him and understand what they're saying, but also look at the real world consequences and try to get it as factually accurate as possible and not to act on impulse, right? He acts on impulse. He says whatever comes to mind. But the role of the press is quite different. It's to be thoughtful. It's to be serious. It's to be accurate. It's to make sure that you're measured in the right ways. When he does something wrong, call it out. When he does something right, call it out. That's the role.
But can I ask you this? Because the Atlantic has been in the crosshairs of Donald Trump at times. There was the whole Signal Gate incident where one of your editors found himself on a group chat involving America's plans for attacking the Houthi rebels.
Yeah.
If you criticize Donald Trump, do you get a pushback? Is there a pushback from White House? Is there a fear factor? What can you say and what can you not?
Well, this is an instructive story. So, Jeff Goldberg, the editor-in-chief, ends up in that Signal chat.
Yes.
Almost a year ago. And immediately the White House says, we call them up. Or Jeff calls them up that morning before we publish, as you do. And they say, yeah, that's true. So we publish the story. Great. And then a few hours later, it's false, right? And they start to kind of gaslight and they're inaccurate about it. But then eventually everybody realizes, of course, the story is true. Now, this was a story that didn't make the Trump administration look great, obviously. But what happened next? Well, the next thing that happened is Jeff Goldberg was at an interview with Donald Trump.
That's right.
Donald Trump paid attention, so there wasn't... You can imagine a media organization ending up in his crosshairs, and you can imagine consequences, or you can imagine him saying, okay, I guess this publication is important. I guess this publication played by the rules. We did call, right? We did make sure everything was totally fact-checked, and then Goldberg went in and saw him.
So, I mean, in that sense... is the American media now, is there a pushback at all? For example, yesterday, when he went and targeted his European allies like no other US president has ever done, almost rupturing, to use Mark Carney's words, the entire global order or this alliance between Europe and the US. Would the US media call him out? Do you call out someone who's a big bully? Because across the world, this is a problem that the media often has. You have these political strongmen who don't like criticism. Does Donald Trump take criticism as long as it gets him the headlines?
So what we did, if you look at The Atlantic and you read Tom Nichols, you read Ann Applebaum, you read David Frum, we just said, this is what he said and this is what the consequences are. This is the history of Greenland. This is what he can do on Greenland if he doesn't take it. This is what will happen if he takes it. And some of these consequences will be terrible. We just wrote about it. We wrote about it quite critically and quite toughly, and we're just going to keep doing that all the time.
So are you making a difference between reporting what Donald Trump does rather than being opinionated about Donald Trump?
Well, you could, right, correct. You report on what he does and you report on what the consequences, but that doesn't mean you have to be both-sided. You also can have a point of view in the stories you write. You read Ann Applebaum. Ann Applebaum has a very strong point of view. She has a strong view and a very persuasive view about what will make the world better, more harmonious, more economically prosperous.
So from your point of view, from your vantage position, as you look at what has been happening over the last 12 months, do you see this unsettled world the new normal? That when you track a Donald Trump, come to the World Economic Forum, hear him sort of taking on virtually everyone, anyone and everyone, calling people stupid, do you feel embarrassed at one level as an American? Or do you feel that, this is Donald Trump, this is a person who's been elected by the people of America?
I think the biggest, maybe the most interesting question, I've had this conversation a lot in Davos. Donald Trump is not very popular in America, right? 36% of people approve of him or whatever it is, right? Far less popular in the world. Definitely changed the perception of America in the world. When Donald Trump is gone in 3 years and we have a new president, maybe it's J.D. Vance, maybe it's somebody else, how will the world think of America? Will it be ruptured forever? Will it be completely different forever? I don't know. That's a question that a lot of people have in Davos.
But when you're talking to people at the World Economic Forum across the board, do they feel actually American power is getting diminished? And you're seeing the rise of Chinese power, you're seeing other countries in a way occupying the space that once America did. How does big business outside America see a Donald Trump? We see big business in America, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, almost fearful of a Donald Trump. Is that the case? And across the world, is there a sense that American power is diminishing?
There's a sense both that the amount that the world likes America is diminishing, right? Like the brand of America is diminishing around the world, and you can feel it. There's some places where it's up, like a lot of Venezuelans are happy with America right now, but for most of the world, there's a sense that we're now a rogue nation. And what's very interesting is that if you look at the kind of autocracy versus democracy, United States versus China, it used to be the United States and its European allies. That's a much bigger coalition than just the United States. Now, Trump's position that he made in his speech yesterday is, hey, we got the biggest stock market. Stock market's going up, which is true. Therefore, more or less everything's okay. I think the world sees it pretty differently.
So if there is to be a backlash, a pushback in America, as you say, his popularity ratings have come down, not necessarily down to the bottom.
It's gone down pretty far.
Yeah, it's about 36%, as you said, approve of him. Do you believe that the domestic situation in America will determine 2026, particularly given that you have midterm elections in November, that if inflation continues to spike and hit people, if jobs slow down, if tariffs continue to hit the American people as well, that's when Donald Trump will be tested?
That will be a very big, two things are going to be tested. So Donald Trump will be tested. If indeed this happens, if his approval ratings stay low, and 36% not exactly, it fluctuates up and down, he will be tested, and American democracy might be tested, right? And the question will be, will we have free and fair midterms, right? Will we have actual elections? Donald Trump the other day said we might not need to have midterms. He was kind of more joking, but sometimes you have to take the joke seriously. So if we have free and fair midterms, which I think we will, he will be tested. If the Democrats win either the House or the Senate or both, that will change the dynamics in America. It won't suddenly make Trump recessive and quiet and change the kind of speeches he gives, but it'll change his ability to sort of run straight through things.
Before we move to the AI, the other big disruptor, in general, have you interacted with Donald Trump much as the CEO of Atlantic?
No, that's the job of the editors. I run the business. The editor-in-chief runs the editorial side. Donald Trump doesn't care about our business. Like, I sell subscriptions, I sell ads.
But as a business, when you talk to business persons across America, how do they perceive Donald Trump? They seem to be lining up behind him. Are they lining up out of fear, or are they lining up because the markets are up? And
a couple of things actually. So, number one, there are a lot of his policies that business likes, right? Deregulation, right? He has a much softer position on antitrust than the Biden administration. They like that, right? Donald Trump has like cracked down on DEI, right? There are a lot of business leaders who are appreciative of that, and you hear that on Davos, right? So there are a whole bunch of factors, deregulation is a huge one, that make the business community like Republicans, like Donald Trump. They like his tax policies, right? So there's much that they like. On the other hand, some of it is also fear and knowledge that if you get on his bad side, he will make it very hard for your business. And if you get on his good side, good things happen to your business. So some of it is realpolitik, some of it is actual agreement.
The reason I'm saying this, I remember meeting Bob Woodward, the great journalist, the legendary journalist, and he said Donald Trump likes to be in the company of rich people.
Yeah.
So he must like being in Davos in that sense. But he seems to like wealth. There's a report in the New York Times now about how much the Trump family has acquired in just about a year since he's taken over power. Those are serious investigations that perhaps Donald Trump sooner or later will have to answer for. Will he be held accountable?
We ran this great piece by Jonathan Rauch, and it was early in Trump's tenure, and it said, the thing that will break Trump will be corruption. And this is what often happens with people who sort of aspire to autocratic-like tenure, and who start to try to make their family members and friends wealthy and move the levers of government to help them. The public doesn't like that, right? And when the public sees how much money the Trump family and others are acquiring near Trump, that's not something that goes over well, right? It helps them secure business, but the average American who thinks Trump is fighting for him, when they see this money, that's not going to work.
Will the Epstein files also haunt him?
They haven't been good for him. I mean, who knows? When the whole Epstein files are out, depends what's in the Epstein files and whether there's more about Trump or there's not more about Trump. I have no idea.
Okay, let's talk about the other big disruption, and this is something that you've done over the years as a tech journalist, which is AI. That's the other big running theme here in Davos.
Yeah.
Do you believe, and this is the question I've asked everyone, is AI the bubble that some call it, or is it the most transformative change since electricity, as some others suggest? Where do you stand on this AI revolution?
It's closer to the most transformative change since electricity.
It is the most transformative change?
No. It's closer to that. If bubble is here, most transformative change since electricity, AI is on this side of the ledger. It might be as big as electricity. There's also a chance of a bubble. Both things can be true, right? I do think it is one of the most amazing technologies ever created. It is also true that it is not providing a ton of value to most businesses. Unless you are in the computer coding industry or in the AI industry itself, you're not getting a ton of value. It takes a while, right? So there may be a bubble because of the overinvestment and the way loans flow and the lack of money to pay back for it. So you could have a bubble and you could have a collapse. But the technology is genuinely awesome and will be massively transformative over the long run.
So the reason I'm asking you this is there's a feeling that many of these AI companies are overvalued, the markets are being driven by them. Do you agree with that at some stage there will be a cautionary note struck, or for the next year at least, the world is going to ride this AI bandwagon?
I think for the next year, the world is going to ride the AI bandwagon.
And what do you see as the future in that sense? Do we even know, just as we can't predict what Trump will do next, do we know what AI will predict next? I listened to Elon Musk here, and he said there'll be billion robotic AIs across the world.
There will not, okay. Robots, much harder to build. The fact that large language models can go like this doesn't mean that robots go like this. Robots are harder, dexterity is hard. Elon has all these Optimus robots. In order to get an Optimus robot to do something, you have to train it a ton on humans, or you have to teleoperate it, have a man behind the curtain. Robots are hard. There will be many robots. They will be awesome. It's going to take some time. What I'm going to predict with AI is that it's going to shift a little bit. Right now, it's a small number of companies using what are called scaling laws. You just buy more compute, bigger computers, more data. There is going to be new architecture for AI in the next year that will mean that other companies can get in the game. It will be more an ideas-based game than just a money-based game, and that will change so many parts of the dynamic. So that's my actual prediction.
Nicholas, is your other prediction that China and the US will engage? The next big race is not the arms race, the AI race.
Yeah.
These are these two big powers which are competing with each other. The Chinese are also innovating in AI. Do you see that as the next big race, something that countries like India have to look carefully at?
Well, it is a big race right now, and it's been a big race. I wrote a story on the U.S.-China AI Cold War back in 2018. Right, this has been a big race for a while. It gets hotter, it gets tenser. I kind of wish it went in the other direction. My hope would be that we start having a little more détente, a little more shared technology between them, and then a little more AI dispersion around the world, so that there's as much AI economic opportunity in India as there is in America.
So if you were to advise, and I know you're not going to, but if you were to advise the Indian government on how to deal with the Trump challenge on one side and the AI challenge, I'm separating it in two ways. how would you advise any leader to deal with a Donald Trump from your experience?
I mean, push back on the things that really matter, listen to him, and then also negotiate with the people on his team. Like, you look at Trump's AI policy, he has some very smart people running his AI policy. So if you're a big AI company, talk to those people, right? Remember that Trump is his own person with a whole bunch of people working under him, some of whom are quite competent, some of whom are not.
And on AI, therefore, you're saying work with people around Trump. But should India join this race? Is this a race which will be a two-horse race at the moment? Or will other countries join the AI race, according to you?
I mean, India should... India has amazing tech companies. It has amazing tech talent. And in fact, it's people from India who run most of America, or many of America's biggest tech companies. You know, India has actually done a good job building open source AI, building up its own AI models, making sure that there's AI customized for Indian needs. I would recommend for the Indian government to invest heavily in things that the state can do to help AI companies grow, ways that you can provide state data to help Indian tech companies, and ways to help Indian technology spread around the world. Absolutely.
Okay, now I want to turn to a subject that's close to your heart. You've just written a book.
I have.
The Running Ground.
Yes.
I want to tell people that Nicholas is an ultra marathoner.
Yes.
Which is what?
Ultramarathon is anything more than 26 miles. So you can run 30 miles, it's an ultramarathon. The longest races I do now are 100Ks, so 62 miles.
And what does this, is running almost therapeutic to you? When
Definitely.
you're running a magazine like Atlantic in the Trump age, careful about what your editors may be writing or who's going to call you up from the business world, is running therapeutic?
Yeah, running is a way for me to open my mind and meditate. It's a way to break from some of the stress of the day. So I consider it an absolutely essential part of my day. So here we are in Davos. You know, I didn't go to any of the parties last night. They were good, right? I
haven't gone to any of the parties because I was working and talking to people, but go ahead.
So I get up at 6 a.m. and I go and I run up the mountain. And you know what it does? It clears my head. It helps me think. It makes me feel better about the world. It's a way of being in touch with nature. So I love it as both like a spiritual practice and just a great thing to do.
You ran up the mountains. By the way, marathon running is becoming big in India as well.
I know.
You've got to come for the Mumbai Marathon.
TCS sponsors the New York Marathon. A lot of my book is about the New York Marathon. I got to come run the Mumbai Marathon.
You've got to come. It's in the month of January.
So when your viewers make my book a bestseller, I'm coming. I'm going to run any marathon in India. I'm all in.
You see, this is the problem. When I write my books and promote them, people say I'm promoting them. But I like people who promote books because, you know, it's your work and you have every reason to talk about it. Just in conclusion, if we come back to Davos, Nicholas, a year from now, do you think the world will be a more settled place? Or do you believe, as I said, that this kind of disruption is now the new world order? Someone on my show today said, we are in a new world disorder. Is that how you see it?
Sadly, yes. And I think that AI, as I said earlier, I don't think there's going to be a bubble. I don't think there's going to be a crash. I don't think there's going to be that kind of chaos. But it's going to change the world a lot more quickly than it has been. I don't know what year, whether it'll be in 2 years, 3 years, or next year, but there's going to be a lot of economic change because of AI. You combine that with all the change that the Trump administration creates, Davos 2027, it's not going to be calm.
But, you know, it's a good time in a sense, Nicholas, to be in the media business.
Oh, it's not boring. It's not boring.
It is exciting.
People want to watch India Today, and they want to read The Atlantic. It's good. You know, may you live in interesting times.
Absolutely. I mean, I came to Davos the first time I have, worried about the cold, worried about who would I interview and why, and I have been I'm a political journalist. I've just been enthralled by the geopolitics around us. Unstable, but exciting times.
Oh, it's amazing. Let's just hope the chaos isn't terrible. We'll live through exciting changes. And if we do our jobs well, and if we can help inform people, democracies can make better decisions, right? So that's why we're in this business. That's why media matters. So keep doing it, and I'll keep doing mine.
The fourth estate still matters.
Definitely, absolutely, 100%.
Okay, that's a good positive note on which to end this fascinating conversation that we've had with Nicholas Thompson. He is, remember, the CEO of The Atlantic, and given your vantage position, I appreciate you taking the time off to give our viewers a sense of the two great disruptions of our time, Trump and AI. Thanks very much.
It's a pleasure. Glad to be in India today.
We'll have him next, possibly at the Mumbai Marathon as well. Thanks for watching.